Thanks.
That's why I answered. I was like, my friends came with that. She's like, really? I want to meet them. Yeah. Anytime. I was like, you can meet them. And she's like, I will. Oh, and she'll show up. We call her Crazy Ann. Okay. Crazy Cousin Ann.
Well, there you go. You got great.
Yeah, she sounds like all my cousins and aunts. So it'll fit right in. A little bit crazier.
Yeah.
Just so when I say that. Yeah, so you know what it is. I knew there was still some. Dana has control of it. She has control of it. So oh, yeah, you'll have to put it. Sorry. Where do Hey, how are you? Good. I'm in charge of my little PowerPoint tonight.
It's up there, the arrow deal. See, you are the first one up.
Oh, great. Okay, so on my little remote.
Arrows, right arrow goes forward, left arrow goes backwards, and there's a pointer in the middle.
Where do I point it?
The laser, you point it to this back screen here if you want.
Back screen?
Yeah, so the councilman can see it, little laser pointer.
Oh, I don't want the laser pointer.
Okay.
Okay, but when I want, where do I point it to the slide?
You can just point anywhere, I think.
Anywhere?
It's pretty
Seriously?
good. Yeah, it's pretty good radio communication.
That's what you told me, but I wanted to, because you know I'll come find you.
I know you'll hunt me down.
I know where you live in both places. Because I bring things and put them on the deck.
Well, it's Janice's birthday party this weekend.
Yes.
Next weekend, Saturday.
Okay.
If you're in play.
All right. Call the meeting to order. Let's go ahead and do roll call.
Commissioner Allen?
Present.
Commissioner Norwood?
Present.
Commissioner Siragusa? Present. Commissioner Roberts? Here. Commissioner Stallings? Here. Commissioner Orr?
Here. Here.
All present.
Okay, thank you. At the Commissioner's request, discuss any item concern on the rescheduled regular session agenda. Looking good on all sides. All right.
What do we want?
Oh, did you have anything on the regular agenda you'd like to address?
On the regular agenda?
Well, the regular meeting. This is your chance to bring them up in study session if you have some questions. Okay. All right. Seeing none, we'll go to item 3, study items. 3.1, hear presentation from the Public Arts Commission of Enid, PACE, regarding long-term planning and vision. Let's see, Christy, are you up?
Sure. Good evening.
Evening.
Thank you for letting us come and present to you tonight. And I am Christy Northcutt. I am president of the Public Arts Commission of Enid. And I do have some of the board members and those that assist us that are here tonight. So I would like for them to stand. Would you guys stand? Because you need recognition. Please. Yes. Yes. Come on. Yes. Thank you. And then we had some that, due to weather and things, were not able to come tonight. So I do and want to recognize Whitney, who is also our commissioner that is on our board. But we have a great group and we work really hard, and I believe the presentation is up, so we will get started. But PACE has, over the years, has done a lot of things And there is the city ordinance that created it. And in looking through that, there were several things that stood out to me and things that we are supposed to be doing, and I believe that we are doing them and doing them well. Those things are promote, assist, manage, and acquire. And that's really what I'm going to focus on tonight. And so moving on to the next slide. Our mission, we are to promote art and public places throughout Enid. We are asked to assist in selection of art for the city's art collection. We're tasked to manage the maintenance and repair for art in the city's collection, as well as to work together to acquire by purchase, commission, donation, grant, or loan works of art for the city's collection or temporary displays in public places. Now, PACE funding, how it helps us promote public art. It is in the city ordinance, and it's written that 1% of major city construction project costs shall be allocated for inclusion of public art in the project. Bullet number 2 adds that 1% costs may be used for art in other city projects or places if inappropriate to display art at the initial project location. The reason that I've added Lazy Circles in the Sky, a project that we did, that is an example of why the 1% added to road construction projects is still important. Obviously, we didn't put this in the middle of a road. We put it at an intersection that is important to our city. We put it at Garriott and Grand, which is known as a gateway to downtown. It is an important road for Enid. It is seen by many people. Lots of people traveling through town can enjoy it. Lots of people have replied to us how much they enjoy it. So that's where 1%, not appropriate to be in the middle of the road. It can be located at the side of the road. Now, moving on to our partnership and grants. PACE is able to fund up to 50% of a project, whether it is placed on public or private owned land. The city can contribute up to, but not exceed, $30,000. So when we look at a grant, if we do award money, the sum of the grant it will equal 80% of the funds going to the art, and then 20% of those funds will remain with the city and go into an account for maintenance and city administration. I'm going to use the wing as an example. We were given a grant for $30,000. That was only 10% of the cost of the project, so it did not exceed the 50% limit. It did not exceed the 30% or the 30,000 limit. 24,000 went to the wing. 6,000 remain in a city account and take care of any maintenance, electricity, or things like that for that art project. Maintenance. This is where we go to the part that we're responsible for management. This is our historic 1910 watering trough that is at Grand in Maine. It has been damaged by a construction project that is adjacent to it, as well as Oklahoma weather. We noticed it. We looked into what the restoration would be to get it back to what it should look like. We bid that out. We bid it locally. We could not find anyone locally who could restore it the way it should be. We did find someone within the state of Oklahoma who could do that. Restoration cost will be about $5,000, and that will begin hopefully in September.
Will that include the lower part?
The lower part, let's
The
go
lower
back.
part, so dogs and cats can get water?
I would have to get back on that. and let you know. I'm not sure if the watering and the plumbing and everything too, it still works to get water to that lower part.
Well, for
That's a good
to
question.
restore it, it would seem like it would be good to let the littler animals have water as well.
It would, and we can check into that. Our restoration was more on the fountain itself and what it was made out of, and then also the lions and any metal on it. So it was not particularly on the plumbing part of it, but we can look into that. And I can ask Angela exactly what the bid included. Mhm.
Okay.
So now when we go to the expectations of us to acquire art, this is an example of our most recent project for acquisition of new art. And this is the Enid Skate Park. This is the design that is by Matt Dean, also known as Kipto. And this is the one that we did the RFQ, the require for qualifications. And it went through many stages and months of work. And we drew that down. We had 19 applicants that we brought down to 5 finalists. And then that was brought down to our one that we awarded it to. And on this, you have the design, the right side of the skater. The skater brings all the energy to electrify the skate park, flows and drifts from the right side behind him, the waves to shed and light up the park. Moving forward, there are sequential heel flips, varying in size as they overlap and eclipse each other. In the middle of the design, it comes to a center point to a huge BMX wheel with a stained glass treatment to scatter the effect and contrast the other flowing background and create a centerpiece. Then on the left side, it showcases scooters and bike action with a few giant close-ups of athletes and their rides. There's a continuous flow that goes through the entire mural. It is 2 different buildings, 2 different murals, but it is one continuous epic design. Now this is a great example, the Veterans Memorial Bridge. This was a project that got started and the Public Art Commission said, you know, there are other bridges in our state that have nice motifs and reliefs on them. Let's reach out to ODOT and see if we can get the same thing. We did reach out to them. They responded very favorably. We were able to decide on and determine the design and the colors. This didn't cost PACE anything. It did not cost the city of Enid anything. And it's a way that we created a partnership with ODOT and we're able to get art for the city. And I would say that's pretty big art at no cost. Looking at funding that we have received. Now, PACE, the first funding that we received was back in 2015. We did receive $10,000. The next year, we received $30,000. Those first couple of years, PACE was still trying to figure out what was the mission, what could we do, what did they want to do. At that point, $10,000, you really couldn't do a lot. Adding $30,000, that was $40,000. They weren't sure exactly what they were wanting to do, so they didn't do any little projects. They wanted to build up the budget and have something. No grants were coming in. The next year, they received $75,000. And at that time, there was a grant that came in. It was for, under her wing was the universe. Then again, in the next year, over $80,000, following years over $70,000, and then again in 2020 it was $73.50. So that is where we came. Those are the dollars that we've worked with on the projects that we've done to date. And then, as you can see, the funding that you have been working with and giving us the $138,700. So if you'll look at the next page, or slide, page for me, you'll see where we have used those funds. And in looking at those, we have tried to be very reasonable with using our funds and we have received several grants. We've had great people come to us for grants. The Veterans Bridge, of course, didn't cost the city anything. Under her wing was the Universe, as we discussed, was $30,000. Lazy Circles in the Sky was actually a project we did on our own, which we are able to go up to $50,000 if it is a self-initiated project, and that one came to $35,000. That one also had some great partnership in it with Keep Enid Beautiful helping us with the landscaping. There also was donation of additional landscaping that was done as a memorial. So that project was a nice one for the city. Then Flanders Flowers, which is the poppies on North Grand, that was $2,300. The Kiwanis Train Tunnel, which is the small tunnel that the train goes through, that was only $250. The Kiwanis Train Depot, one side of it, was $1,375. Now the Enid Skate Park is our newest one, and that one will be starting in October. Remember, it is 2 buildings, so it's 2 murals, 1 continuous epic design, and the total of that project is $42,500. So what I encourage you to do is embrace pace. We've done a lot of good things. I think we've used our money wisely. We do have future plans. We always enjoy building our partnerships, working on new projects, going back to promote. We're going to install our Enid Skate Park mural. We will plan and host a ribbon cutting ceremony. One thing that I think PACE can do better is market PACE and the Enid Public Art Commission and all of our works, and whether that is through Facebook, Instagram, Enid Buzz, Visit Enid, eTown Magazine. We can use all of those things to really build up the image of the public art in Enid as well as the city of Enid. In assisting, we will increase the awareness of the PACE grants and continue to look at opportunities to assist the city and those in our city that are adding to our public art. We will partner with community groups and private individuals to create and assist local art projects as well as support local artists. And looking at manage, of course, we'll continue to manage and maintain the city's art list, which we have created a list of all of the art that the city owns, and we have added to that list all of the public art that is in Enid. And so it is time that we go and look at that art. Some of it is outside, some of it is in buildings, but we have located all of it. We have it on a list. We have the inventory. We know the name of the art. We know who created it. We know the value of it, when we acquired it, and now we need to start making sure that we're taking care of everything that the city owns, and that is part of our responsibility, and we will start doing that on a regular basis. And we will look at it. If there's maintenance needed for anything, that comes out of our budget as well, and we'll make sure to do that. As far as acquire, we will research, propose, and purchase and commission new public art as requested by the city. And we will create PACE projects like Lazy Circles in the Sky and Enid Skate Park Mural and others that are requested of us. At this time, I would like to turn it over to Kelly Tompkins. Kelly is a local artist, but she's also been an executive director of Main Street Enid. She has spoken all over the state on the importance of public art and community partnerships. And I'd like for her to present a little bit to you on the importance of public art to communities and what it is to the city of Enid.
I'd like to ask a question before we go on.
Sure.
I go to the skate park occasionally. I don't get on a skateboard, but I go down there because I'm kind of interested in how that project is moving along. It doesn't have a finished look. Is that our fault? I mean, is there a plan to get it more look? You know, when I drive around and look at the parks that Benson did during there's a really cool looking parks. That skate park doesn't look like that.
Well, I certainly think the mural may help with that. I know that there's some street work
No,
that
I'm
has to be
talking about the
completed.
street and the grassing around it, so it looks finished. It just doesn't have that finished look like these other parks have.
It's certainly something that, the plan that we have is to, when the bridge at Broadway and Fifth gets completed, I know I've spoken with engineering about doing Fifth Street, and I believe we may still, if we haven't already, have to do some disabled parking in that area. And certainly we can do some more sod. I know that at one time we talked about a fence, maybe on the south side, and certainly something we can look at. I know we also have the old skate park features that used to be at the old skate park, and an idea that has been talked about at Park Board and certainly at City Hall is having a retro park there too. And so I can see those with the old features coming and some kind of connection. So that's kind of what I'm familiar with right now. And Commissioner Allen, you're aware of some things.
Yes, there's going to be some, you're right, it's not finished because we're waiting on the construction on that being taken care of on those roads down there. There'll be improved parking, and then there's trees going to be planted down there on the south edge, along that top berm, and then there's a water fountain going in, and there's going to be some more lighting. So it does have an unfinished appearance because it is unfinished. You're exactly spot on. So it's just a matter of time. I think once you get that mural up, that will help. We're coming on the time of year when it's time to plant some trees. We wanted the tree board's advice on that. So there's just some things that have yet to be done because we were doing them in an order of that street repair.
Well, the mural's gonna be really cool looking from what I see. So it's gonna draw people down there. And I just, as I look at it, it just kind of turns you off when you get there.
I understand. I agree with you completely.
Okay.
But once you get, commercial type parking and spaces and everything lined out the way it should be, and the rest of all that comes together, it's a timing issue.
I know the site's going to need some cleanup. It was used as a laydown yard on Randolph and Fifth. And where's the laydown yard for Broadway and Fifth? Same place? So that's probably going to be part of the challenge for a while till we get all that construction done. And Morali, I think, didn't you tell me the water fountain got completed? Or maybe I misunderstood it.
The water line is there, so we need to install it.
Oh, okay, so we do have the water line that you have left to finish, so.
We have a very nice water fountain with the doggy bowl on it and all the, fancy stuff, and it's bulletproof, so it'll last a long time.
One of the things that may not have been talked about, but is something that can be considered too, that goes right along with making it look better when the time comes, we need to put some signage down there. It doesn't really have a name right now, it's just Enid Skate Park. So that is an opportunity, if somebody wants to think about a name, or if somebody wants to sponsor a park to help us, that would be something we look at.
I had one question. I know you talked about adding additional lighting, and I don't think we talked about it in PACE, but with the mural going up, are we going to have any additional lighting on the mural?
Did you ask lighting on the mural?
Yes. Or is that something PACE would handle?
Well, and that is one thing that we want to get the mural up, and we were kind of waiting to see when the park is finished. What is the lighting that is up, and does it light the mural? Or does there need to be a little bit of lighting coming over from the top of the building? And it's kind of like, do we need to spend money on lighting when there's going to be additional lighting added in the skate park? And that would be use from PACE, or use of funds from PACE that didn't need to be used. So we were waiting on that to get the mural up, to see what else was done at the skate park, and then to see if anything needed to be added.
It's another good question because, no, the lighting isn't finished up down there. But there's a question of what kind of lighting, how we're going to use it, when it's going to be on, when it's going to be turned off. If we look across the street at Haskins Court, the basketball courts, there's lights over there that can be turned on when there's people there. But at 11 o'clock at night, everything goes off. And we never put lighting on the skate park that's right behind the building where the new police academy is. Forgive me if I use the wrong word there. But it's because it was in a residential area and we didn't want kids there all night messing around. And so there's this line in there of, that's a residential area as well. There are residents in that neighborhood. And, but we don't want people there all night. And if they don't have any lights on, then it's hard for them to be down there utilizing it. So those are issues that still have to be worked out.
Okay.
Okay?
And I would encourage you to talk to the kids that are out there and adults. I went the other night and there was a couple, she's sitting in the minivan waiting for her husband to quit playing on his skateboard. And she was just reading a book in her minivan. He was out there, he was probably in his late 30s. He was riding on his skateboard. When he was finished, he got in the van and they drove away. And so people of all ages are using that park. But I encourage you to talk to them because when I'm out there, those kids give me all kinds of ideas. Yeah. But they would like a little bit more concrete around the skate park because they're doing their tricks. They don't have enough room to land them. And so they're ending up in kind of the grass or some of the rubble that's around. So, as you're looking at finishing the park and adding trees, I think talking to them, seeing how they're using it, how much space they need around the park is important.
Not to put the tree right where the ramp is.
Exactly.
Well,
that's right.
Because what I'd like to see created for it is once we finish using that as a staging area, the south end, then go in there and set that up and put in our old tricks that we had from over here. Because people like that kind of stuff. There's not a half pipe at the skate park, and that's part of the Olympics. All the designs that you saw in the Olympics, we have those features now, or we're going to be putting them up again. And then we'd like to create what is called a pump track to connect the two of them together, and it's just a wavy like sidewalk thing that you just pump your two-wheel vehicle, whichever it is, and it just kind of glides you along. So there's a lot of cool stuff yet to do. It costs money, and it takes some time, and but to me, it kind of keeps it interesting and adds new features that keep a fresh look on it all the time. So just give us a chance to continue.
Okay. I have one question. Electricity. All of our city parks, all of our stuff that we have, are we charging anything for lighting up art as a city?
Are we charging
Or are
stuff
we-
to
are
art
we-
funding, or are we?
Are we funding the bill?
No, the answer for the wing, I think, is we're allocating the electric bill
Yes.
to the PACE fund, so the city
PACE
pays.
is,
Yes.
PACE is paying for the electricity that is used at the wing.
Okay.
And that is one thing that it is on our maintenance and administration, and it is on our monthly statements that we get at our meeting, and that is where that 20% that is taken out of a grant, it goes into an account and it's used for maintenance and city administration, and that's where the monthly electricity bill is paid from.
Okay, so if we were to add lighting for the new
For the
stuff,
mural,
that
it
be
would come out of
something
there.
That would come out of that fund.
Right,
and
correct.
Everything else.
Yes.
That might-
Yeah, probably the
some of
lighting,
that lighting
The
might
lighting for the
assist
mural-
Also with,
if there's specific lighting for the mural, it would probably come out of that fund. If it's lighting for the park itself, we pay for
That's
it.
public
Yeah.
safety.
Right.
Yeah.
well, I'm just saying
Yeah.
is, can we do something, somebody design the lighting to help with the park and the mural at the same time instead of separating these two things?
I think that's why they're waiting
Complicated.
until they have everything else done.
Yeah.
Yeah, we-
Sky's the limit. We're open to anything.
Instead of making it all
Absolutely,
complicated. I
absolutely.
think it
We're
should
open
just
to
be one
anything.
system that benefits both.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I'd like to turn it over to Kelly Tompkins.
Was there a grant for the skate park mural by chance?
That is a project that is PACE initiated,
Okay.
and so it did not have to have a grant. A grant comes from an outside agency to PACE. The Enid Skate Park mural was a PACE project.
So it was funded 100% with taxpayer money?
Yes.
Okay, how'd you guys get over the $30,000 rule?
When it is a
there
PACE
30
project, it goes to $50,000. That's what I mentioned on Lazy Circles in the Sky, that it was $35,000, but when it's a PACE project, it can go to $50,000.
Well, it could go more than 50,000, but it would require, I mean, all of these projects have to be approved by you all. And the 50,000 is Gerald's limit. But you know, you guys could, if you wanted to, you could do a $100,000 art project if you wanted to. It is.
So the
it's-
$50,000 limit is not written in the Public Arts Commission?
It is in there.
I don't know where that is.
Well, I found it, but I don't have that in front of me because I started on mine. Because everything I have in here came from the ordinance.
The idea is if a third party comes to us and is proposing something, and they've got people, you know, in the community that are paying, that the city would, our match would be 30%. That's under the
30,000.
partnership, I'm sorry, 30,000, up to 50, 30,000 being the max. And that's for partnerships, you know, like with the school board or something like that.
Okay. What, you mentioned the water trough, and how often does that thing need to be restored? Is it, how long has the city owned that, and does it need to be restored, what, every 5, 6, 10 years?
I'll have to get back with you on that. I don't have that in my brain right now.
I was just curious.
I mean, I can find that for you.
It was.
I mean,
it was
they've had,
put there
the city's had it since 1910.
1989. I was on the commission when we put it there.
Okay.
KP Simpson had it in his building, and he offered it to the cities, and we put it there in 1989.
Oh, cool. Okay. So 89? 30 something?
The reason for
Thank
this
you,
res-
Rob.
The reason for this restoration is because of the construction that,
Yes.
Yes. And now you know why
Last issue.
Rob's on the committee. And you may or may not have the answer to this next question. Who is, it seems like I think I'm on track to know stuff about these projects, but I get something new every other week. Who is responsible for the maintenance of the prairie grass at the wing? Is it the city, or is it the art commission? Does anybody know the answer to that?
Well, I can answer that. It's ultimately going to be the city, but we look to the artist because it's an art project to help. I know you've met with the artist recently, and I think it's my understanding Rami's reached out to Pace, but I don't know if anybody's talked to her yet. I think those ideas are good to have the master gardeners and other people help. But currently, the city mows and maintains the border to make it more purposeful, that the middle part, most of the part is a prairie. So to answer your question, yes, the city's responsible. Through the PACE committee and the ordinance, there's a certain amount of money that can be used for maintenance. I don't recall what that is. It's 10% or something like that. And those are the funds that are available. I don't even think we actually charge for that mowing or any of that stuff because we're doing that anyway downtown. But as we move forward and figure out how we want to make that prairie look better, if that's what we want to do, we will certainly want to work with PACE if you guys want to work on that.
Well, and I know that you met with Romy the other day and had a great discussion, and you discussed fencing it off, and so that it would be determined this is the prairie, and give it some purpose. I think that is a great idea. And then I know that Romy has spoken with Gerald and said, is this something PACE can assist with? And I was copied on an email that said that. And we, at our next meeting, that can be presented to us and can be discussed, and we can look at that and work on that as a project. We were not meeting this month because we were meeting with you, and PACE was preparing for this presentation, and we've had lots and lots of meetings over the last several months working on the Enid Skate Park project. And so we actually, before you had that meeting with Romy, had made the decision not to meet this month because we're only required to meet once a quarter. And for the last several years, we have met once a month because we've had so much going on. And Angela and I spoke, and we decided that we would give everybody, we didn't really give them a month off because they're here, and they were helping gather information and putting things together to present to you tonight. So we are not meeting, we did not meet, what, yesterday or today? With a double meeting, or tomorrow is when we would meet. And we chose not to do that. We will meet next month, and that can be added to our agenda, which was the plan.
Okay. Can I ask one thing? I know you said that y'all haven't met and everything else. We had a great discussion after the last
Right.
study session and everything else on the insurance deal. Are you having that on your agenda too, to
Yes,
look into that? Because I know
Yep.
you told me about your list, which is pretty awesome, and I just want to make sure that our investment is,
yes. Angela is good about getting everything on our list. She's really good. Angela is our liaison, and she does an outstanding job for us. And then Annette takes care of our accounting. They both attend all of our meetings. They're there to help us whenever we need it. And, and then Carol's always there when we have questions about legal things. And so we do have great partnerships and support from the city. And so absolutely, because I think that's going to have some questions that we need to work with Gerald and with legal on and figure out exactly how to do that.
yeah, I mean, it's really important, because I don't think anybody in this room would go out and buy a $40,000 car and not put any insurance on it.
Right.
I mean, it's just as easy as that. I mean, we need insurance on our art. It's an investment that we're making as a city and taxpayers. We need to protect it.
Yep. We will have a full agenda. And anyone is welcome to join us. So we meet at noon on a Wednesday, and you are welcome to join us. Are we ready for Kelly?
Yep.
Okay, come on up, Kelly.
Hello, thank you, Commissioners, City Manager, Mayor, for letting us tell you about why we do the things we do. And she mentioned, yes, I do create public art. I have been presenting, and yes, statewide, about public art and why it matters for years before I started creating it. So this doesn't really have much to do with what I do for a living. It's just what I feel is important for communities, and I'm speaking to a group first thing tomorrow morning in Tulsa about it, and a statewide group next week about it. It's just something I care about. I have the power. All right. I want to talk about how public art advances the community. It actually touches on several things that you all probably worry about at night, and you might not realize what public art could have to do with those things. But obviously, tourism and local spending. Visit Enid. They have our public art on on the travel guides. They're on the videos that they produce. Their marketing materials, and they're showing how Instagrammable our town is, because that's one of the main reasons why millennials choose to go visit a place, is by how Instagrammable it is. The foot traffic that it creates generates more local spending, and we have a lot of public art downtown, and that makes more tours and more walking. And when you make a walk more interesting with improvements and beautification and pretty things, people are going to walk more because it's a more interesting walk. And then you're walking past more local businesses. Big Country Meat Market, I mean, they're not downtown where people are walking by, but they've noticed a visible increase in their customer data. They track, their sales. They noticed an increase in their new customers after the first mural we painted, the Longhorn. And then now she called the other day and she was like, our number of new customers has just risen again since you painted the grilling together mural on the east side. So she has visible data, trackable data of how this art is bringing more customers into her door, and that's exciting. You wouldn't realize what it has to do with public health and safety, but when you have more of those people walking, you make that walk more interesting, people are going to walk more. Maybe they'll walk, further to their parking or to more stores or whatever. And when you have more eyes, around places, that is natural surveillance. That has to do with public safety. And also we were talking about lighting. A lot of people add add lighting to their murals, and that lighting adds to the safety. So this actually touches on public health and public safety with more walkability and more lighting and safety. So the promotion and identity, the natural promotion you get from these pieces of art, because people take pictures in front of them and post them. They don't do that in front of things that every town has. They do that in front of things that are unique, that they find interesting and strange or weird or pretty or big or whatever. And so when they take those pictures and they post them on social media, that is like an advertising for our community, but it's worth even more because it's like a recommendation from a friend instead of an advertisement that, we can ignore advertisements, but it's much more trusted when it comes from a friend. And that's kind of some natural promotion that we get. It elevates our city's brand. And we've worked a lot on branding and all the imagery, and it improves that. Beautification and improvements. So obviously it beautifies when you see before and after photos of the walls and the properties that have gone from blah to tourist attractions and tourist stops and all that. You can see that difference, but it's also, improvement is contagious, because not only are more and more people wanting this type of improvement, but like the dragonfly that we painted, well, the other buildings along the back of that, in that same view, were looking pretty. They all got painted, because when when something gets improved and you're like, ew, well, those all got painted. So this helps other improvements with fresh paint and sprucing up and more art. Community pride and attachment. This shows it shows that we value our community, and that improves the just your feeling about your community pride. And as far as attachment, a Gallup poll showed that the aesthetics is one of the top 3 reasons people attach to a community. And that's a big deal. We want people, I said all this to you before, we want people to want to live here and stay here and come back here and bring their families here. But that attachment is important, and it actually has to do with that. The quality of life and sense of place. So the art improves livability. Investing in this is similar to investing in your parks and your trails and the sports fields and the things that the city does that has indirect return on investment, as well as, sometimes it's hard to get it down to the dollars, but we can do a little of that too. It just helps give a sense of belonging when you feel you're in a place that is valued too. The creativity and innovation. So it helps attract and shows that our community is open to creative people and to people who, innovative people. That's what we need. That's what businesses need. We need creativity and innovation. Those are things that just can't be outsourced. We need the young people. We need the young families. These projects have also sparked lots of other things. One project will spark another. And I see it in whether it's grants or people tell me or whatever, it's this piece of art inspired them to create that. And it could be a sculpture that inspired a dance. I mean, this is not just mural. This is across, all the arts. They inspire each other, and they inspire that creativity and innovation in people. But all of those things help people want to live here. And that is that's what we're all working for, is bringing businesses and people here. And it takes both, because businesses need workforce. Well, people have to want to live here, and the community pride and all of the things that this does helps with that. So I want to talk about the Sapulpa Indian blanket mural. This is one we painted. It's a huge water tank. I know I don't have the full photo here, but I want to, this one is a little bit more about dollars on the natural promotion. First, they're spending, they paid us to paint this mural, but we also spent over $7,000 in the area. Now, Sapulpa is near a bunch of other communities, so we spent over $5,600 in Sapulpa city limits, but the over $7,000 was in the Sapulpa area, just while we were there, because we were there for 5 weeks painting it. So I counted all of the reach and the impressions that I could count and the interactions. And then I assigned a dollar amount to those based on what you would pay, but based on an average, leaning a conservative average of what a tourism ad, what you would pay for those. And within 1 month of us completing the mural, so just, the build-up, but once it was completed, just from the few posts that I saw, which were on groups like Oklahoma Snapchats, there's a Facebook group, they had already gotten almost $4,500 worth of free advertising just within a month. And, this is going to last, 10, 15 years, I'm not sure. Now, since I did those calculations, first it was on 2 Tulsa news stories, so it got all the, their whole local news stations. One post on Oklahoma tourism on their Instagram, it reached 56,000 people, had over 4,000 likes in 4 days. Then they posted it on Facebook 4 days ago from now, and it reached almost 350,000 people, 45,000 engagements, and of those, 8,200 were interactions, like the hearts and loves and the likes or whatever, and 2,600 shares. I'm just still so shocked and wowed by how much that got shared and pushed. And 2,600 shares, I would have been surprised at 50. That happened in 4 days. That's where the benchmark of where, I could see some of the numbers, and I asked Travel OK to tell me some of the numbers I couldn't see because I'm not an admin on their Facebook. And those are just a few posts that we know about. So these art pieces, especially the bigger and bolder that you go, they have a lot of reach on advertising your town that you're not having to pay for. And my last slide is, we've just been shocked at how public art tours in Enid are actually officially a thing to do. When we were painting the meat mural, just 3 evenings we happened to be there, tours of Vance spouses, and actually one of your city, Dana and his wife, they stopped and like, oh, we're on a mural tour, and you're here. Anyway, so it's groups and it's couples and it's date night, and those are just the 3 we happened to see while we were there. And almost everywhere I go, at least literally half the places I go to meetings or whatever, people tell me, we go on the mural tours, and I take my family when they come to town, and when they come back to town, they want to see all the new ones because, we're getting more frequently. They're being used for class reunions, like tours, to show people this isn't the same Enid as 50 or whatever years ago. It's bringing people from out of town because I see my out of town friends posting pictures of themselves in front of things, and all of them saying, oh, I have to go see it, I have to go do this, I have to go, And those cultural tourists, they tend to stay longer, and they spend 60% more than non-cultural tourists. They're more likely to return and more likely to recommend a friend. So this is it's a tool for tourism more than a lot would realize. And I just hope that we can keep building on success because it is a thing now. It's an Enid thing. And I hope we can keep building on it, and I hope that PACE can do more big things because it's just exciting. Do you have any questions for me?
I just got one. You use the term walking by and walking on numerous times. How about our disabled people?
Well, that would be a sidewalk and ADA issue.
ADA issue, yes, ma'am. So it would be proper for us as a commission to make sure that these projects that are bringing a lot of people into Enid would have the proper ADA requirement sidewalks
Yes.
to not exclude those, but include those that are in chairs.
Absolutely. And that was something I brought up. The very first one I coordinated as the Main Street Director was the butterfly mural. And it didn't get addressed, but I brought it up a few times to, maybe remove the stop sign that puts weird shadows on it and make it more ADA, plus all the people who walk right there, to go to the ballpark for the games. And then sometimes entire teams take their pictures in front of it. So yeah, that is a great point. Y'all are having excellent questions tonight. Anything, I'm going to hand it back to Christy when we're done, but yes, go ahead.
Okay. Have you considered, I don't do it, but I know a lot of people do geocaching. Is that a thing? I don't know if I pronounced it right.
Yeah,
But I think public art would be a great place to be able to do that and kind of incorporate that and get people moving around the town and discovering different things. So if that hasn't been thought about, that's probably something you could add to your list.
That is a good idea. And I'm helping someone who is planning their 50th school class reunion. And he was talking about geocaching or how can we do something like that. And there are all kinds of things. We're thinking about what if we did an audio tour, because you almost need someone to say, when you drive downtown, this is how I entertain myself driving down from Garrett to Maple. I know everywhere to look, left and right. It's like, oh, turn around and look here. Oh, look over there, look over there. I think it's 26 or more pieces of public art you can see driving on Grand from those, if you know where to look. But I think, a geocaching thing for more, they're used in scavenger hunts all the time. Anything like that, because the more you activate what we have, the more you're going to get out of it for community and visitors.
Yeah. I'd also think about bird tours. Put together something so that they can have a little recorder when they check it out, and it'll tell them art, sculpture, public art number 1, 2, 3, 4, and they can just click on the one that it is and listen to a little of the history of that project. So I think there's all kinds of opportunities to help with that.
And if any organization or if I would be glad to help with any of these type of things to make these even more of a tour that's provided even more than everyone's just doing their own, because we have these public art maps.
Yeah. I'd like to, how many items, do you know how many privately funded public art projects are in town? I mean, we're only looking at the few that we're funding by the city, but there's a whole bunch of stuff going on in town.
There are. I used what PACE had an intern create that inventory that Christy talked about. And I took that inventory and made a Google map, which that's a little bit of a screenshot of part of it. I believe it's in the 70s, probably the high 70s, of how many outdoor, it doesn't include indoor, approximately 70, and we've gained, I believe, 42 since 2015, which is when we started the mural program with Main Street for downtown. So since the butterfly, I believe we have 42 new pieces of art in Enid, which is amazing.
Okay.
I have 2 suggestions. My first suggestion is, since we are a community that has our national defense Vance Air Force Base here in Enid, Oklahoma, that we might consider, and our veterans, consider our artwork that, says thank you and we appreciate you, your service. And my last one is for our children, because, when I went to Houston, I was like, wow, man, that was pretty cool. You seen all these little kids, it attracted a lot of children. I was going around downtown in Houston on my way to Galveston. I was like, man, that's something that I need to bring up, when I get back home to Enid. So that's just a suggestion.
Yeah, and we could do something big. I've talked about so many ideas with so many people of our, our air and space, and between our astronauts and our Vance Air Force Base. No, we do have the one, we painted one with the T-38.
Yes.
And that, that was a nod to our Vance Air Force Base. But one could be done, more dramatic, differently, in a different style, and, things like that. So I love talking about all the ideas.
I think
Because
Talks just did a Iwo Jima
he did, the raising the flag.
mural either on Independence or somewhere, so anybody that knows American history will instantly know that's
Yes.
an iconic deal. He did a great job.
He did. It's on Grand, just barely south of the underpass.
Right.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and the
Universal has got one on the side of theirs that's got conceptual, I think, aircraft.
That's the T-38.
Okay.
That one's takes flight, so it's the paper airplane that just
Yep.
kind of
Yep.
turns into the T-38.
Right.
And then the poppies are also, veteran related. It was based on the Flanders Fields poem about, and it has all those meanings. So, but yeah, I love talking about ideas. So anytime anyone just wants to talk about ideas, I would love to join. Anything else?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you for listening, and I'm going to turn it back to Christy.
Okay.
Thank you, Kelly. Do you have any questions for me or for Angela, our liaison? You've given us a lot of time. We appreciate that time. We appreciate your support. And I have our agenda. I've added to it. I've made sure I've covered everything you've asked, and when we meet, we will make sure and take care of things, and we'll keep you updated on everything we're doing.
Okay.
Thank you, Christy, for coming
Yes.
here tonight.
Yes,
We appreciate your efforts and the PACE Committee's efforts.
it's our pleasure.
Hang in there.
And I would just say, Commissioner Roberts, you're on the committee now. Is there anything you'd like to say regarding PACE and
I'm just honored to be part of it and get to see the behind the scenes and how much work goes into all the projects, and a lot of thought and care is put into every single one. There's not one rash decision made. It's very well thought out.
Yep. So it's not fine photography, but it's art nonetheless.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, item 3.2, discuss suggested changes to rules for meetings. Some items that were brought up by Commissioner Orr. Who's going to speak to those? Are you or is?
Sure.
Okay.
You bet. Well, I think I might have been a little bit confused when we first took this on. I thought maybe this was part of the project that we were going to present to OML to get some funding or something out of them. But anyway, we ended up taking a look at some of these, some of the rules that we've been using. And in light of some of the events that happened last year and so on and so forth, we grabbed the for lack of a better term, meeting rules, and kind of went through them one by one and redid the wording. Has everybody had a chance to look at them yet? Okay, does anybody have anything? I don't know if we want to go through this item for item, or if we want to take a look at it, and if anybody has any questions on it. I know there's been some discussion on the tabling, whether we even need to have that in there, and I think that's probably about the only issue we really have right now. So we can look at that in a second. And the other issue we had that's really received some attention is how much time speakers should get. And I've got it worded in there that I think it's more than fair. Right now, we got 3 minutes per person, but if somebody's coming up singular and discussing one single topic, I don't see any problem with taking more than 3 minutes. That's fine. And anybody in the governing body here can allow a speaker more time. I wanted to keep it low because if we do get 30 or 40, 50 people in here, like we did at Stride Bank Center last year at times, 5 minutes is way too long. Like I said, I think 3 minutes is fine. Anybody can give them more time. They can request more time. I just don't see it being an issue at all. And we put that both on meeting items and as well as the public hearing issue as well.
I appreciate your efforts on this. It goes right along with the other issues that we talked about last time of our conduct and how all those kind of things work. Typically, there never comes a question until an item comes up and you have an issue, and so it's always hard to just, read the document. I like what I see, I understand what I see. What's the issue with tabling? What's going on with that?
I'm sorry, Jerry?
What was the issue with tabling that anybody had an issue with?
I'm not sure if I totally understood that. I think maybe we should just go back to the Roberts rules, and I think we had some issue, there was a lot of discussion on why we had an item tabled last fall, and was there some avoidance in there? And so I was just trying to make it clear so that the rules are clear to everybody and that we know, if we table an item, I think if it's in public, I think the public deserves to know why we're tabling that item. And that was basically the premise behind that.
Okay.
Well, my deal was going back with Robert's rule with the tabling and everything else. My issue was that if you decide to blindside the rest of the commission with something, that there was no discussion, no nothing, blindside, and it's like, nah, this needs to be discussion before we make an ordinance or anything else like that, or if it might violate city charter or something like that, let's table it until we know what's going on, and I get a second. But there should be no debate at that point in time.
Exactly, because it wouldn't be an agenda item. You can't blindside somebody with that.
By changing this allowed it to make it debatable.
Mm-hmm.
And we shouldn't be debating on something that's tabled. We should be moving on with city business. And that's the only reason why I had an issue with tabling. Was that I don't think it should be something that is debatable. If we table it as a commission, there's a vote.
That typically follows Robert's Rules of Order.
That follows Robert's Rules of Order, and then if we decide to take it off of the table, we do that next meeting with the rest of us. So changing tabling, I just got an issue with it.
Yeah.
So does that mean you don't like the language in this?
Okay. I like the language.
Here's the, Commissioner Orr talked to me about the tabling thing. And when it says that the motion to table is not debatable, that is right. Mm-hmm. But here's what, and I don't have a problem with it. Either way is fine. But what I think Commissioner Orr was saying is that he didn't want to have the tabling be used for just killing something. So, and when they say that the motion to table is not debatable, they mean the actual, should we table or not? Okay, but if there is concern, and we all know what we're talking about here, it was when you all tabled the setting of the election. Oh, is tabling legal? Does it violate the charter? And if something like that happens and the commission wants to say, wait a minute, maybe we should just address it rather than move it along. The only way to do it is if you debate the motion to table. If there's something, if item 8.8.1 is on and somebody says, let's table that, and they get a second, then there's no discussion under Robert's Rules of Order unless we say that the tabling is debatable. But the tabling isn't talking about the thing, it's talking about the reason why we're tabling. Are we tabling it for a good reason, to get more information, et cetera, or are we tabling it just to, just to not hear it? But you can do whatever you want.
Wouldn't our motion to table include, I want to table this until we have further
normally it would, but it doesn't have to. I mean, you can just 8.1 table.
That would be that explanation.
Yes, except that unless the reason why he said time-sensitive items of business shall only be tabled with the reason for tabling included in the motion, we added that. It is not required under Robert's Rules. We don't table that much. but I'm just,
But that's why I said, if
That's-
it's, why change something that hasn't
that's
been
why we're
an
talking
issue?
it at a study session.
I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I want it,
Also, I want to bring up, it's happened maybe once or twice without being verbal. We abstained from even making a motion before. It happened here.
Yeah.
We stayed
Don't- if you don't
completely
get it,
quiet,
it's done. Yeah.
you know, and I don't know how long it took
Yeah.
for
But
a
if-
mayor for you to
Yeah.
say,
If you don't
no
get a s-
motion.
yeah, if
We
you don't
didn't
get a
say a
second,
word. That has happened a couple of times.
There's also occasionally times when there's a problem with the item or it's not correct and we just
Sure.
say we pull it.
Yeah.
It doesn't,
Yeah,
so I don't know if that's what you're,
Yes, because
To-
the mayor, he, you know, his position, I mean, we didn't say anything. We just sat here. And there was no previous discussion or anything about it. And you took it upon yourself to say, okay, we're going to move on. That has happened.
Yeah, well, and if there's a motion on the floor and there's not a second, it dies. I mean, that's the way it works. If there's not at least two people in favor of it, it's not voted on or discussed. So, okay. Okay, for tabling, I don't have an issue with that.
Because-
I'm a little okay,
I say this because
Yep.
you are, as the mayor, you are the presiding officer
right. Yep,
of this governing body. So, you know, I mean, that's the way we dealt with it that time.
right. Yep. As far as time, I read
page 3.
3.
Three.
Yeah, where any member of the governing body can extend the time. I don't know. I think we need to think about that a little bit, because what could happen is Jerry wants 3 more minutes, and pretty soon we're gonna have 5 people around, each one given 5 more minutes.
well, it says
I think you
may.
gotta have a presiding.
It says may request.
Okay,
So if Jerry said, I think she should have a few more minutes, he's asking you.
okay. All right, that's fine.
And then,
I just
you know,
wanna make
and then
sure
I
it's not,
suppose if
okay,
you said no,
ends up
Mr.
into a
Allen,
30-minute debate.
there could be
Okay.
a motion.
Yeah, the next,
All right.
I think the next line actually covers
Okay, all right.
on that one.
Which number?
On 11B on page
Oh, on 3, okay.
the presiding officer may at his discretion.
Okay, all right. And I appreciate, Commissioner Orr, you're the only one, I think, that did the homework. I asked everybody to put together their thoughts on our OML handbook, what we were putting together for commissioners, one of the requirements that we needed for the $10,000. And you get an A+, you were the one that replied. So I do appreciate that. Yep.
and I think that helps clarify.
Yeah.
There is a handbook that references these rules.
Yep.
And if we get these rules the way you guys want them, I think the handbook, I've heard no comments on, unless, Carol, you have.
No, I think
So we're prepared to bring these back, maybe even as soon as the next meeting, if you guys want to consider them then.
Yeah.
We just need to know, well, Carol needs to know, what do you want? On the tabling, I wasn't clear, but if you're clear,
I'm not exactly
Okay.
clear about the tabling, but it sounds like maybe the tabling, we don't, are you clear? I don't know what they want. Do you want it to be debatable or not?
I
No.
think it should be the same as it was. I don't think it should be changed.
I agree.
Okay.
You're okay?
Then we'll change it the way it was. We'll just leave it the way it was.
Everything else probably okay?
Yeah, the only thing I have a comment about, and in previous meetings that I've been in, the presiding officer, on this, we're going to talk about the 3-minute deal.
Yeah.
Most comments can be related in 3 minutes. However, if somebody isn't beating a dead horse and going over and over, and they're coming up with new ideas, then that's why I would extend the 3 minutes. But that's your
Yeah.
position. And but we don't see a lot of that.
No, I agree. And I think we'll see less in the future than in the past.
Well, and 3 minutes is very generous. It's a long time.
Yeah, it is. Okay? Yep. Okay, so the homework remains the same. If you do have any other comments about the handbook that we're putting together, look at the minutes from last time and get those to Carol as soon as you can. And we'll look at those at the next meeting and go ahead and formalize that. Okay? All right. Thank you. Again, thanks a lot, Scott.
You bet.
Item 3.3, update on Cleveland Street widening project and timeline, including stormwater improvements.
Mayor, Commissioners,
Yep.
I hope I can wrap this up in 3 minutes. But I'm going to go a brief talk about the Cleveland Street project, and then I added a couple more projects that we've gotten a lot of questions about, just so that we can maybe touch more bases as we go through it. 3 projects are, like I said, the Cleveland Street project, Randolph Avenue downtown out to 7th Street, and then also the Garland Road street widening project that's over by Atwoods between Garriott and Randolph. First project, Cleveland Street between Railroad and Willow. Currently, I had, as of when I did this slide, we had 90% complete on the right-of-way acquisition, but as of last week, we've wrapped up all of our right-of-way acquisition.
Okay.
Still, you guys will be seeing those last couple properties come through the next meeting. Utility relocation is currently in progress. That's the work that you see happening right now on the east side of Cleveland Street, just north of the railroad tracks. Right in that area right there. That's a water line relocation project, which is a city-funded project since it is a city water line. They've got about probably 2 months, maybe 3 months of work to do. Once they start across that open pasture there, they'll move right along really quick. There are a few more utilities that need to be relocated. AT&T and a few other communications need to be moved. Also, the work going on over there, which is that red box that's extended out here, which I'm sure people have noticed and have questions about. That is a drainage project that's currently associated with this project that will redirect water from kind of the northeast there part of town, directed away from that bottom part down there where the railroad track is, that has had some flooding issues in the past. That will take water from up there and direct it down into here, into the Willow soccer detention area. That project is underway, roughly 25% complete, somewhere in that neighborhood. The road widening project is currently still in design. It's been moved to, ODOT has 90% plans and they're in their review process. I did get an email today that kind of gave me the impression that they're getting close to wrapping up their review of the project. And so once we get to that point, it should be moving on really quick with the 90% plans, because that's nearly complete. The railroad crossing, which is down, obviously on the south end of the project, it is, it's kind of out of my hands, kind of out of our hands. It's mostly between ODOT and BNSF. Last time I checked on it, BNSF has the project. ODOT has approved what is being done. BNSF has the project plans, and they are working out, make sure that all their safety requirements are met. Any questions on this one specifically, or?
Yeah, Jason, could you just give us a rough timeline of when the water line should be done, or is that going to be this year or early next year?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The water line will be done probably in 2 months, 3 months. It will not take very long. What's going to happen with that one is the project's going to get out of the area of the ODOT funded portion, extend up kind of past Jumbo's up there into the intersection of Willow. It will be a headache for a little bit, but we've got to get it done. That's where that's going to tie in. It's going to take place. That should be coming within a month and a half or so time frame. And then also the southern portion of it, there'll be a large bore that goes underneath the railroad tracks. That's probably going to be a 2 or 3 week process as well. So 2-3 months is kind of our estimation of the timeline.
Okay. And I know Chris Mural and I were in a meeting yesterday with Autry and Jumbo's. It'll be very important for us to make sure we coordinate with Jumbo's on anything that impacts that intersection, probably the other folks too, but
Absolutely.
they
yeah.
are significantly impacted anytime we close a street like Cleveland.
Right, yeah, and this is one of those things that's gonna, we're out ahead of the game. That way, this is only be affecting Willow and the intersection there. It won't be affecting, it won't be Cleveland shut down and Willow shut down all at the same time. So there'll be multiple ways in to the
Good,
businesses.
good. Yeah, so if you just make sure when that happens, just so he'll know.
Absolutely,
Thank you.
yeah,
And then the stormwater work, I think, is going to be finished sometime next fiscal year or something?
yeah, probably so, yeah. Yep.
Okay. This is an effort to make sure that we are communicating well with you guys as a governing body, and the extra added benefit we get is the public picks up on this too, because I know they've had a lot of questions probably to you guys and to us, so that's our effort to be more attentive to updating you on things like this so you know what's going on and can tell your constituents.
Yeah.
Yep. Good.
Other project that's currently going on that's very impactful, to be moving forward here very soon, is the Randolph Mill and Overlay project. We've completed the water line through downtown and through basically the railroad tracks out to 7th Street. Currently, Cummins Construction is working on doing the rebuilding some of the concrete corner nodes and things of that nature, crosswalks of that nature, and things like that. They're basically up to the railroad tracks.
Carol, these are just other traffic updates. Are you concerned about it? It's not on the agenda, or
Okay.
what's your?
I was,
concern?
because it just says update on Cleveland Street widening project.
It does. We
But-
probably didn't get the label
Okay.
right, but if we need to cease and desist, we will, because you guys have the slides and.
But I did not look at the arterial street presentation, so perhaps it's covered there. So I'll just sit back down. If it was covered in the arterial street presentation, then.
Yeah, I struggled with the name because it's important street updates is what I wanted to put, and that's not a very good, that's not a very professional label for something like this. So I would-
Proceed. I'm sorry that I got agitated.
You're fine. Let's see, where was I? Water line relocation is complete. The contractor's working on replacing, are about 50% done on the corner nodes that are tied to this project. The actual mill and overlay portion of the project will start sometime later this summer. I'm hoping sometime in September. And we will have a public meeting for that as well with Gerald and
Main Street.
myself.
Yeah. Okay.
Last project, and this is one you guys may not be fully aware of. It's kind of going on behind the scenes right now, but there is some work that's happening that we're getting a few questions on. This is a Garland Road, Garrett to Randolph project. It's broken into two portions. It's the the intersection of Garland and Randolph, as well as a widening project of Garland between the two streets. This is over there by Atwoods, kind of the Cedar Ridge area. For the intersection, the plans are complete. Right-of-way acquisition is about 90% complete. Got a couple more properties to get a hold of. Utility relocations are basically on hold until those properties are acquired. But the plans for both the utilities and the water line are done. For the widening portion of the project, excuse me, those plans are about 90% done. They're currently in our in-house review right now. We hope to get those back to the designer here pretty soon. Utility relocation, and that's what you guys are seeing right now. That is ONG, and they're relocating one of their gas mains that runs along that side of Garland, and so that's what some of the things are tore up in the backyards in that area that are taking place. Water line for that project will also need to be relocated, which plans are in preliminary design. And that is all I had, unless you guys have some other questions.
I got one. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Commissioner. This is just a real quick related update. The 8145 intersection, I understand from ODOT, will be open in the morning. That's very important to people that travel Carrier Road. I gave you an update too, so we should be taking down the detours. And Commissioner Ward, we had talked about that. I know you had some complaints from some folks about that detour on Purdue and Oakwood, so that should go away, and the police department can enforce that if trucks don't get it. Go ahead.
My question is what's the life of the water line, the pipes that you're using, the blue?
Raleigh? Long time.
So we calculate based on pipe material that's 75 years old.
Oh, 75?
Yeah.
Okay.
50 to 75.
Okay.
We're putting a lot of that in the ground.
Yeah. Okay. Any others? Okay.
All right, thank you guys.
We have one more, and it's going to be pretty quick, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I think it's an important one, too. Item 3.4, present new VDA billboards.
Yeah, I'm going to do this because Derek couldn't be here tonight. He and his communication team actually did all the work. This is part of the effort that I think that I certainly want us to do a better job of keeping you guys informed if you get questions. These billboards have been up. Let's see, which way do I point this? There we go. Let me give you a brief, quick history. There's 4 billboards in the city that for some time have either been owned or leased somehow in the distant past, starting with Ambucks. I think back in the days of the first base alignment and closing rounds.
Yep.
And they would put up stuff about that kind of stuff in Vance. And then some time ago, probably 15 plus years ago, they really got turned over to VDA, the Vance Development Authority, which is kind of the city too. So what we've done from there is from time to time we put up Vance-related messaging on those billboards. And we do that every so often because a vinyl billboard's only good for a few years and then it deteriorates. So these are the latest ones that have been put up probably a month or so ago. This is one of them, and I don't know. Okay, yes, Derek's put where it's at, 412 West. You can see exactly what it looks like. We think it looks fantastic, we hope. We worked in conjunction with Vance on these, so we appreciate the help with your team, sir.
Gerald, on that
Yes, sir.
one, the only thing I notice is I drive by there quite often. I think those trees are a lot higher from where I sit in my little car because a lot of it's obstructed from the
Yeah,
view.
the trees are grown up there.
Yeah, so I don't know if we can do something to trim trees or if that belongs to us or don't, or what we do.
You bet. We probably certainly need to coordinate with the landowner, but
Yeah.
for the most part, I'm sure none of them are going to care if we go in there and trim those trees. So that's a good point, because I know there's some others, and possibly around some of the welcome signs that has shrubbery and stuff.
If we can move those trees further west and kind of block the farm a little bit, I think we'd be better off.
Maybe we'd move them down to the skate park, except I'm not sure that's the kind of tree we want down there, so.
Anyway, thank you.
Okay, yes, sir. The Design 2 is out on 81 South, which is just, actually, you know where that is. So that looks good. That's what it looks like. And I do see it's got some high Johnson grass, but it's not encroached on by trees. The third design is at Gott Road. This one had this is what started the project. It was looking pretty bad. And actually the design we had up was when you did the air show, I think in 2016 or so. And it was really good at the time, but it's, anyway, this is what it looks like now. That's a two-faced sign.
Are you sure that's Gott Road? It looks like Kincaid Road to me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, yes.
Sorry.
Yes. Thank you. Gotcha. Yes, thank you. Kincaid Road. Design 4 is probably on Cleveland. Nope, it's the other side of Kincaid Road. And then design 5 and 6 should be on Cleveland Street,
Yep.
just south of Roop. And there's the other side of it. So there's six faces, 4 billboards, and we just want to make sure you had seen those. And so anyway, I'm proud of the communications team for getting that work done by Kelleher or whoever they contracted to do that.
Yeah. No, great job. They turned out fantastic. Appreciate it. All righty. That's all I have. We're going to take about 15 minutes. We'll reconvene at 25, 35, 40, 6:40. We're adjourned.